President Buhari arrives Malabo, Equatorial Guinea for the 4th Africa-Arab Summit. Infrastructure, fight against insurgency top Nigeria's agenda.
Vice President Oshibajo says Nigeria is set for greater achievement in ICT.
This is a good moment for our country. It's a good moment for technology in our country.
Ondo PDP governorship tussle, Supreme Court orders Court of Appeal to proceed with hearing of entire judge's appeal.
And Good Morning Nigeria today takes on the forthcoming Ondo governorship election.
All right, in a few days' time, the people of Ondo State will go to the polls to elect the successor of the incumbent governor, whose tenure ends in February 2017.
Now, developments that have characterized the build-up to the election scheduled for this weekend certainly have been full of drama, twists, and intrigues.
Indeed, Kingsley, now a major development to the election process was the ruling of the Supreme Court yesterday, asking the appeal court to continue hearing on the various applications brought before it by contending factions.
Now, in two separate rulings, a panel of the Supreme Court headed by the acting Chief Justice dismissed the motions asking for a stay of the appeal court proceedings and others seeking an order disbanding the Justice Alawa-led panel. All eyes are therefore now on Ondo, where the legal tussle is said to be generating more tension.
All right, Kingsley, it is expected. Of course, we all know that the four major contestants are lawyers, so it's a kind of battle of the wigs. But again, even within the APC, that's the ruling party itself, there are also issues that need mending. But the vigor with which all the parties are campaigning shows that they are looking forward to the process and indeed are expecting smooth transition.
All right, now key stakeholders in the electoral process are already in the state and preparations are said to be in top gear. So Nigerians and of course observers are also expecting the process to be completed as planned. Now, there have been assurances from the electoral umpire, security agencies and other players indicating their readiness to conduct the election. And all but one political party have, however, called for a shift of the polls from this weekend to some other date later in the year.
Of course, we know that INEC has said it will not. It doesn't have the power to, put off the elections. Only the courts can do so. But how will all this play out in the Ondo governorship election? Can the Independent National Electoral Commission conduct a free, fair, and credible election? Will the expected ruling of the Court of Appeal have any impact on the process? And how will the call for a shift, again, of the election affect the process? Will the outcome be accepted? Well, these are some of the questions, as always, we'll seek answers to on today's edition of the program. It's Good Morning Nigeria, broadcast from Abuja studios, of course, from the Africa's largest TV network, that's the NTA. I am Claire Delabo Abdulrazak. Thank you all for joining us.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Claire in also welcoming you to this edition of the program. And as usual, we'll have our regular companion segments. These include newspaper review, business, sports, and arts and entertainment, and hopefully also we'll take some foreign tidbits. In the meantime, we are going over to the newsroom, and our guide this morning is Lydia Sampson. Hi, Lydia.
Hi, and good morning to you, and Claire, and to Nigerians. And here's the news. President Muhammadu Buhari is in Equatorial Guinea ahead of the 4th African Arab Summit scheduled for today. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the president, accompanied by Governor Nasir Ahmed Al-Rufai of Kaduna State, arrived Malabo International Airport at about 6 o'clock Tuesday evening. On hand to receive him were top officials of the government of Equatorial Guinea, led by the country's Prime Minister, Pascal Obama. Also at the airport were the Ministers of State for Foreign Affairs, as well as Industry, Trade and Investment, the National Security Advisor, and Nigeria's Charge d'Affaires in Malabo, Bukar Kalamba. The African Arab Summit is expected to endorse a 2-year working plan to be known as Malabo Declaration for the Promotion of Trade and Economic Ties between the Gulf and African states. The plan seeks to implement priority projects in communication, transportation, energy, trade, and investment. President Buhari is scheduled to hold discussions with Arab leaders on the sidelines of the summit aimed at reviewing agreements to strengthen partnership for agricultural and infrastructural development in Nigeria through long-term concessionary loans and transfer of technological skills. He will also seek further collaboration and cooperation in the ongoing fight against Boko Haram and the humanitarian situation in the Northeast. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says Nigeria is set for greater achievements in information technology, stressing that the country has everything that is required to do this. This was at the 9th International Information Technology Conference with the theme, Leveraging ICT Innovation for Economic Diversification.
Great moment for our country. It's a great moment for technology in our country. These innovators and many others like that provide an element that share determination and an enabling environment. Our young entrepreneurs are set for world-class achievements in technology.
The Supreme Court has allowed the Court of Appeal proceed with the hearing and determination of PDP case filed before it by Mr. Itayo Jegede, a contender in the Ondo state governorship election. The APS court also came down heavily on a senior advocate of Nigeria, Kevin Nwofo, who had joined 3 courts of appeal justices in the appeal he filed before the Supreme Court.
Our Supreme Court made it clear that it will not encourage anarchy in the system. All of us Nigerians, we owe a duty to defend an institution, not to the individuals within the institution. And that institution is the judiciary, is the cornerstone, is the anchor, is the hallmark of our entire existence, of our entire democracy.
That's why they fixed Thursday to hear the main appeal, which is more important than all the motions we are moving. If they hear the main appeal, they will take a final decision.
Senate at Tuesday's plenary passed 6 bills at second reading, including the bill to amend the Official Secret Act. National Assembly correspondent Waziri Zayano reports that these were the central issues during the proceedings.
Mr. Ibe Kachuku, the minister was quoted to have said that on the basis of the structure that are being put in place, that the government has shaved $1.7 billion from their outstandings. So Nigerians are getting worried.
I hope that your committee will be able to extract from the minister exactly the basis of some of these discussions so that we'll be able to explain to the people and for them to have confidence in the process that it is transparent enough.
The House of Representatives has passed at second reading a bill for an act to provide a standard scale for fines and financial penalties in Nigeria.
If inflation occurs and the naira to the dollar, for example, becomes $1,000 naira to the dollar, that amount becomes inadequate. All you will need to do to change all those laws in one fell swoop.
The bill is aimed at addressing the issue of fines when the purchasing power becomes very, very low.
I am aware, I've seen this in play in certain jurisdictions and it has worked very well.
In the US, the fine was over $50 million US. A fine for libel. But Mr. Speaker, here in Nigeria, we take these issues very, very lightly.
That this is one bill that all of us here must, give our consent to so that we'll save time tomorrow.
But I'm skeptical as to its workability. How is it going to affect all the various acts?
The Minister of Interior, Abdul Rahman Bello Dambazau, has ordered investigation into the inmates' riot at Okekura Prison, Ilorin, Kwara State, on Thursday, November 17, which reportedly claimed 6 inmates, leaving many others injured, with sales condemned. In a statement by the press secretary to the minister directed an intra-ministerial committee to work closely with Nigeria Prisons management to unravel the remote circumstance surrounding the unfortunate incident to forestall recurrence in any of the nation's prisons and also to sanction any official found culpable. The statement said the minister has consistently maintained his stance on the need to adhere to the United Nations minimum standards for the treatment and rehabilitation of prison inmates, including condemned prisoners, in line with the Mandela rules. The Monetary Policy Committee meeting has maintained all policy rates despite prevailing negative indices. Governor of the Central Bank, Godwin Emefiele, while briefing the media on the outcome of the meeting, said the decision is best for the economy considering the global economic outlook characterized by uncertainties.
These accumulated debts have slowed business activities of economic agents, most of whom are indebted to the banking system, thus compromising the integrity of the financial system.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says there is urgent need to properly structure movie industry as an enterprise with cultural products packaged for sale. The minister stated this at the consultative meeting with stakeholders on the National Enhanced System Policy documentation in Lagos.
We are simply talking about a system of showing films, distributing films in a manner that will give the best dividend to those who have contributed to making the films.
The immediate past chairman of Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria and Director General of NTA, Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, has urged the new leadership of the organization to jealously guard the friendship, professionalism, harmony, and partnership in the industry built over the years. He stated this when he handed over the mantle of leadership to the new chairman in Abuja.
To say without any compunctions that I'm handing over to the next chairman a ball that is strong, virile, united, and all-inclusive. I'm handing over a body that can stand the test of any scrutiny.
So I'd like to assure members and all stakeholders that during our tenure, we will deliver on the campaign promises of technology, advocacy, innovation, and training.
And that's the news for now. Good morning, Nigeria. We'll continue with Kingsley and Claire, both of them sitting and standing by. Good to go, but after the break.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words. Run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Hello, dear. You've got the first signs of a sore throat.
Yes, and I'm afraid it could be signs of a sore throat.
Don't you worry. Just act immediately, but not with non-medicated throat sweets. Take an expert product. Take Strepsils. Look at what it does to sore throat germs compared to a throat sweet. Strepsils not only stops the germs from multiplying, it even kills them.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, sore throat. Stop a sore throat early. Take Strepsils.
DA Properties Investment Company Limited, a subsidiary of the Nigerian Television Authority, specializes in creating comfort in all areas of life, such as real estate investment, that is, land, houses, and office spaces, mast leasing, savings and loan scheming, household items and car loans, and so much more. Other information and entertainment services include Property in Style, a TV program that airs on the network service of the NTA, and also Property Connect, a nationwide magazine. Our priority is to bridge poverty gaps and sustain quality welfare of our clients. Partner with us and watch us help you grow. Pay us a visit today at the NTA headquarters permanent site, Area 11 Garki, Abuja, or our Lagos office at number 15 Awolowo Road, Ikoyi, Lagos. For more information, visit our website on www.ntaproperties.com.ng, or you can email us on ntapeak2000@yahoo.com. Call us on 080-2316-3474 or 080-6939-5185 or 070-3189-0555. NTA Properties Investment Company Limited. The much needed help at your doorstep.
All right, you're welcome back. But if you just joined us, it's Good Morning Nigeria, and we are on the network service of the NTA. Now it's time for us to catch up with news in the business world. The Central Bank of Nigeria is to raise 117 billion naira treasury bills at an auction, plus federal government restates commitment to financing infrastructure as Finance Minister Kemi Adeosun receives the Chinese ambassador. Details of these stories with our correspondent Joy Uzo.
Nigeria plans to sell 117.17 billion naira in short-dated treasury bills at an auction on November 30. The Central Bank of Nigeria said on Tuesday that it will sell 45.85 billion naira in 3 months papers, 18 billion naira in 6 months bills, and 53.32 billion naira in 1-year bills. Payment for the purchases will be made on Thursday this week. Nigeria issues treasury bills to fund its budget deficit, manage banking system liquidity, and curb rising inflation. The 2016 budget deficit was estimated at 2.2 trillion naira, of which around 900 billion naira is expected to come from local borrowing. The Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, has expressed the importance of critical infrastructure projects, especially in the areas of rail and power, to the country's economic development. She was speaking during the visit of the Chinese ambassador to Nigeria, Zhao Binjian, to our office in Abuja. Adeosun described the commitment of the current administration to infrastructure development as serious, stressing that Nigeria is ready to take off in terms of growth and diversification. The minister expressed the determination of the government to deepen the good relationship between Nigeria and China, stating that there are great opportunities and an alignment of culture, ideas, and aspirations between both countries. The Chinese ambassador described Nigeria as a close ally of China, recalling the role played by Nigeria in getting China a seat at the Security Council of the United Nations in 1971. He explained that the decision of the Chinese construction giant China Gas Alba Group Corporation to open its Northwest Africa headquarters in Abuja demonstrates the important position in which China views Nigeria. The ambassador expressed a renewed commitment to strengthen the partnership between Nigeria and China. China's overseas direct investment for the next 5 years is expected to be at around $750 billion. Next is a graphic summary of trading on the floor of Nigeria Stock Exchange for Tuesday, November 22nd. With business news, I am Joy Uzo.
Many thanks to you, Joy Uzo, for the business news. And coming up next is newspaper reviews. Stay with us.
Bayo Atoyebe is here with us for today's review session. Bayo, morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you, Kinsley. Good morning. Good morning, Claire, and good morning, Nigeria.
All right, well, let's begin our review this morning with stories trending on the front pages of the papers here. A related copy, CBN, interest rate, and others. Daily Trust lead story says manufacturers upset as CBN retains rate at 14%. And MPC asks federal government to pay local debts to stimulate economy. I take that again. Manufacturers upset as CBN retains rate at 14%. And NPC asks federal government to pay local debts to stimulate economy. It's also the lead story, but in a related sense, from New Telegraph. New Telegraph says CBN backs DSS raid on forex hawkers and retains interest rate at 14%. Emefiele, that's one of the riders. Nigerian banks facing surmountable risks. And organized private sector, that's OPS, retention of NPR killing manufacturers, and Naira weakens against dollar. Now, those are the stories on the economy from the front pages of Daily Trust and New Telegraph. But of course, there are others on the front page of The Nation. I'll just take one of them, and it says, below the name flag, it says recession. CBN advises federal government to settle domestic debts. Now, those are the stories we're taking in the meantime. Claire?
All right, Kingsley, I'll take the Nigerian pilot next, and it leads with the story, banks facing surmountable risks, and that's attributed to Emefiele. He has to write it there. MPC retains tight policy, NPR at 14% and IR at 30%. You can find the details of that story on page 40. And there's a picture story that you see a group of suspected robbers, cattle rustlers, kidnappers, and car snatchers paraded by the police at the force headquarters in Abuja. That was yesterday. And just trending below that, FG puts monthly wage bill at 145 billion naira. FG puts monthly wage bill at 145 billion naira. Other stories trending at the bottom there, lawmakers to restrict presidential ceremonies to NAS premises. Lawmakers to restrict presidential ceremonies to NAS premises. Amosun presents 221.1 billion naira as 2017 appropriation. Now, economic diversification, Bayelsa sets up aquaculture village, also trending at the bottom. Kidnap kingpin snapped in Enugu, and Senate charges FRSC on enforcement. Those are some of the stories trending on the bottom there. Now, just below the nameplate, police fire 14 officers for misconduct. The details of that you can find on page 4. And Supreme Court clears coast for Ondo PDP Guba controversy. That's the outlook of the pilot. Bayo.
Well, thank you, Claire. Well, the 14% rate that has been retained has become a matter of concern for manufacturers. You know, they have always been facing challenges about raw materials and other challenges about power, and manufacturing has been on the downside. And it was their greatest hope that with the efforts towards diversification and production internally in the nation, a less rate will have enhanced their problems. But the governor of the central bank is saying, yes, banks are facing challenges, but the challenges are not as grave that as not to be surmountable. So those are the outcomes of the MPR meeting by the central bank. But meanwhile, the Court of Appeal panel, led by Justice Ibrahim Solara, has been directed now to go on and deliver his ruling regarding the PDP candidates for the election scheduled for Saturday. The encumbrances placed on the court by a motion led by 9 applicants at the Court of Appeal has been thrown out. 10 of the 14 appeals were withdrawn by the appellant B. Ukporoye, the factional chairman of the PDP in Ondo State. For the 4 other cases, the Supreme Court directed them to as lacking in merit. The panel of justices led by the acting CJN, Justice Ondoge, were unanimous that the court below is ordered to continue proceedings. The Supreme Court, however, frowned at joining justices of the Court of Appeal who were not parties in the case and describing it as an attempt to intimidate the justices. The Chief Justice of Nigeria observed that the earlier petition against Justice Sankey-led panel was part of the pranks played by the lawyers to undermine justice and democracy. Cost of 500,000 each was awarded to the respondents' appeal. It also awarded a cost of 1 million naira each, and in 3 separate cases in favor of the justices. The counsel, who is a silk, was admonished seriously that his method of legal practice will bring anarchy to the profession. He asked justices of the Court of Appeal to discipline and forget that they have immunity and they could not be joined in cases when they are performing their constitutional duties. I think, Kingsley, this is a landmark ruling. It has never happened before when costs are awarded to justices of the Court of Appeal, particularly when they were unilaterally joined in cases for which they ought not to be, because as justices, they have immunity from cases over which they are presiding.
So that's the case of Ms. Joinder.
Okay. Just as the issue too, it's a landmark one.
Right, that's right. Well, these are issues that, of course, are still unfolding, and we'll also be taking a greater look at it. But just one of the issues, Claire, that Bayo spoke about, and that we also have a story on the pages of the papers that we have. The policemen who were paraded, they are formally dismissed, also ejected from service. You have the photograph on the front page of the Daily Trust. It says, sacked policemen paraded at force headquarters in Abuja over alleged unprofessional conduct, aiding and abetting serious crimes, including cattle rustling, robbery, and kidnapping. It's always been a source of concern to a number of persons, who've been watching how so-called bad eggs or actual bad eggs are flushed out. Now, what is the exit procedure? These are persons who have been trained in weapons handling, and what is also the tracking mechanism for them once they are out of service?
So that they don't become a liability to society.
Absolutely, and this is precisely what we are saying from time to time. I think that's one of the things that the police authorities...
And in fact, there were 14 policemen. One of them was ASP.
Absolutely.
However, through the process of orderly room trial and the discipline procedure, I think they have now been let off the force, but it is not explained in the report whether they are to face prosecution like the other 45 accomplices who were involved in kidnapping, armed robbery, and other misdemeanors.
That's right. That's right, Bayo. Okay, let's return to other headlines. The Nation newspaper above its name flag. We have a raft of headlines there. Tinubu hail, it says Senator Afiku Yomi, page 6, that's it in greater detail. And villagers flee as Boko Haram returns to Chibok. And caught no counter order on Jonathan's wife's $15.5 million. That story is in greater detail on page 5. But the lead story of the Nation newspaper says with a kicker, Ondo, police deploy 26,000 as AD alleges rigging plot. Two riders to that. Okay campaign, emotional El-Rufai, INEC official behind plot, and H defend governance. That's there. You also have other headlines there. And then at the foot of the front page of the Nation newspaper, Senator Abe accuses Dugara of undermining Rivers APC. That's on page 43. And on page 5, in greater detail, jungle justice bothers Senate. Claire.
All right, Kingsley, thank you. Let's again move to the Punch. And it leads with this story. Federal government that FG's huge debts crippling financial system, says the CBN. Comes with two riders. Benchmark interest rate retained at 14%, and Buhari's economic policies need review, say Otomi and Rwani, as well as Dons. Picture story, though people, of course, the placard says it all. CSO's pro-government protesters clash over 300 million naira houses for Oshomole and deputy. The details of that on page 13. Now, ghost workers, FG's monthly wage bill drops by 20 billion naira. You can find that on page 7. El-Rufai names mastermind of Kaduna killings, orders his arrest, page 12. And 2 feared killed in Igbira-Basa chieftaincy tussle, also on page 8. Now, just above the nameplate, police dismiss 14 for selling arms to criminals, on page 8. And our fighter jets attacked Boko Haram and killed scores, attributed to NAF. And Kwara uncovers 8,863 ghost workers. You can find the details of that on page 12. There's a story I would like, it's also on the inside page, Kingsley and Bio. It's about a filmmaker who was accused of stealing 9 iPhones. So it's just on the inside page, and it's quite...
What was it, for recording scenes or something?
Well, it's a Yoruba filmmaker. He has a name is given here, Sheun Egbe or something out there. But
well, I think it's an allegation. He had gone to a shop, he purchased 9 iPhones, and said he was fetching money from his vehicle and he moved with the phones, and an alarm was raised that he was trying to steal the phones. This is was against the word of the boys in the shop. But meanwhile, let's come to...
Before you leave the shop.
Well, he said he didn't have enough money to pay for the knife phone, so he wanted to fetch it from the car. It's his word against the words of the boys. But meanwhile, in Kaduna, Governor Nasir El-Rufai had visited Chawai area where he held meeting with the traditional rulers, the Fulani leaders there, as well as the internally displaced persons. He has declared that the people there should produce one Haruna, who is an alleged mastermind of the recent attacks in the area. It is said that the Haruna had his home attacked and his cows killed, and he, in the process, mobilized all the people that have been carrying out that mayhem. The governor has vowed to prosecute all those that were involved in the 38 persons that have died in the crisis there. The other report, Kingsley, you read about Senator Tokumbo Afikuyomi, he was reacting to the story accredited to Governor Solomon Lalong that the APC leader was away at the APC governorship rally in Akure due to ill health. Senator Afikuyomi reacted and said that the fact that somebody went for medical checkup does not mean that he is suffering from ill health. Meanwhile, still on the Ondo elections, the Nigerian police say they are ready. This came after they held a meeting with the political parties and the INEC in the state. The Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, says that there are 26,000 personnel of the police, 3 helicopters that will be hovering over Ondo State, 13 armored personnel carriers at strategic locations, and 20 gun pools for the waterways. And there will be 3 commissioners of police in the state to monitor the election. Therefore, he has sent the signal, troublemakers, be aware, stay away from Ondo State.
All right, Bayo, well, that's reminiscent of what we have seen in other elections in recent times, full deployment of the security agencies, by the security agencies, and the usual show of force. But very quickly, New Telegraph, we have a number of headlines below the name flag. Oshomole's 300 million naira pension sparks protest, 12 injured. Details on page 9. And on page 32 in greater detail, Oni unveils 42-foot Moremi, and that's the tallest statue in Nigeria. Oni unveils 42-foot Moremi, and that's the tallest statue in Nigeria. Details of that on page 32. Ghost workers, federal government saves 20 billion naira monthly. That's on page 7. And Jonathan's wife loses bid to stop forfeiture of $15.5 million to federal government. Okay.
Right, Kingsley, thank you, Bayo. I think that's the much we can take of the newspaper review. Of course, as usual, we appreciate you and hope to see you again tomorrow.
Tomorrow will be another day. Thank you.
All right. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Of course, our topic for discussion this morning is we're tracking the Ondo governorship election that is, of course, coming up on Saturday. But before we do that, we'll take a short break. When we come back, Ngozi will be giving us a background report.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Would you like some water? It's cold, especially for you.
Which era are you living in? We have a fridge.
When everything else in your house is from the present, then why are your toilet cleaning methods from the past? Harpic, all-in-one for you. Compared to other toilet cleaners, Harpic removes top stains, kills all germs, and removes bad odors. For a shining, clean, and fresh toilet.
Wow!
You should also take the Harpic
all-in-one challenge.
Would you like want some water? It's cold, especially for you.
Which era are you living in? We have a fridge.
When everything else in your house is from the present, then why are your toilet cleaning methods from the past? Harpic all-in-one for you. Compared to other toilet cleaners, Harpic removes top stains, kills all germs, and removes bad odors. For a shining, clean, and fresh toilet.
Wow.
You should also take the Harpic
all-in-one challenge.
Hear the call of change. Stand up, Nigeria. Change is here and it's going to stay. Change begins with you. Oh yeah, make we go. Go to so let the change begin from within. Look at the eye, Ogerula. Change begins with you and me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the NTA network. Now, to lay the foundation for our discussion this morning, Ngozi Chude has this background report.
The race for the succession of the outgoing governor of Ondo State, Olusegun Mimiko, has been characterized by crisis and drama, leaving little for imagination. Initially, it was the question of who sought seats, the incumbent governor under the PDP, which rules in the state. Later, the struggle for the ticket of the opposition, All Progressive Congress, became the center of attention. 50 party chieftains reportedly signified interest in the governorship position in the oil-rich state, out of which 25 took up the challenge to buy the nomination form. One later opted out, while 4 stepped down, leaving 20 political juggernauts fighting for the number 1 position of the Sunshine State. Following the APC primaries, Rotimi Akeredolu emerged as his candidate with 669 votes, defeating others with his closest rival, Segun Abraham, who polled 635 votes. The emergence of Akeredolu for the APC was greeted with mixed feelings, as others say the former chairman of Nigerian Bar Association is an alien who just came to Ondo to contest. Interestingly, the eye of the nation is on the outcome of the November 26 election for a number of reasons. First, while some Ondo people are still contemplating accepting Akeredolu, the PDP is facing more serious crisis, with the party appearing fragmented as 2 factions. The Senator Ahmed Makrafi and Senator Modu Sharif are fighting for control, with both fielding a candidate. However, tension heightened in the last few weeks, with the rumored possible postponement of the elections by INEC and a court order replacing Jegede from the Makafi faction with that of Ibrahim from the Modu Sharif's faction by the electoral umpire. While the commission has allayed fears about the election being shifted, it can do little or nothing about the confusion that still looms over the candidates of leading political parties. PDP is not only the troubled party ahead of the election. It is also of interest that the candidate of the Alliance for Democracy, Olushola Oke, is also struggling to keep his name and that of his deputy on the ballot paper, as a human rights activist and former governorship aspirant of APC, Tunji Abayomi, said Oke was not qualified to contest the November 26 governorship election. There is hardly any day that comes without controversial news on the election as the countdown zeroes. In the next 4 days, the people of Ondo will go to the polls. However, it is still with bated breath as the battle of the contenders rage on with more intrigues. Some of the contending issues on the legal front are getting clearer, with ruling of the Supreme Court on Tuesday ordering the Abuja division of the Appeal Court to continue its hearing in the tussle for the Ondo State People's Democratic Party governorship ticket, following the suspension of hearings on October 18 due to the various applications pending the decision of the highest court. But another issue still belies the vote of supremacy. 20 other political parties have demanded the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to postpone the exercise, advancing security reasons and pending court cases as some of the reasons. A lot is brewing. Uncertainty is the order of the day. How will this play out? Questions that need answers. Beckon on Good Morning Nigeria today.
Thank you very much, there, Ngozi Chude, for that background up. And here with us to discuss the Ondo governorship election on Good Morning Nigeria, we have first Tawo Eja Tawo, is a learned senior advocate. It's our pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, Nigeria. It's my pleasure.
Okay. And then we also have with us here in the studios the Deputy Force Public Relations Officer, that's of the Nigeria Police, is CSP Jimal Moshood. CSP Moshood, our pleasure to have you on the program.
It's my pleasure. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay. And Claire?
And from the center of the action, that's correct, we have joined us Olusegun Agbaje, and he is the INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner, Ondo State. We'd like to thank you very much, Resident Commissioner, for joining us on the program.
Thank you and good morning.
And we also have joined us via Skype from Umuahia, Abia State, Festus Okoye, and Festus is a constitutional lawyer as well as civil rights activist. Mr. Okoye, it's a pleasure once again to have you join us.
Thank you very much and good morning, Nigeria.
We're also expecting a chairman of the Transition Monitoring Group in, of course, Lagos. We do hope that he will soon join us. All
right, Claire, where we also have a guest at our Ibadan Network Center. Well, the guest, of course, will be introducing in a moment. But just to begin this conversation, let's go to learned senior advocate Tawo Eja Tawo. First, for members of the public, particularly the voters and other critical stakeholders in Ondo and others elsewhere who have followed developments in the lead up to the Ondo governorship election, there's quite some confusion, particularly amongst the four or five leading candidates in the election. Others are also significant. But the PDP is governing the state and the APC is the challenger in the state. But the PDP appears still embroiled in a legal tussle over who his proper candidate is. So what sense can we make of the Supreme Court ruling, Supreme Court rulings now, because there are two of them, yesterday, going forward?
Well, as it stands right now, the PDP's candidate is Jimoh Ibrahim, as per the judgment subsisting, the judgment of Justice Okon Abang, which substituted Jegede. So the candidate of PDP is Jimoh Ibrahim. Now we know the background, that Jegede was initially accepted by INEC as a candidate of PDP before the judgment or the ruling of Okon Abang, which now substituted him with Jimoh Ibrahim. Now, when that decision was taken by the court, Jegede was not a party to that action. And Jegede, a lawyer, decided to apply for leave to appeal against that decision as an interested party. And if he has been removed, that means he's interested. And he went back, he went to the court for leave to appeal, which the court refused. And now the Court of Appeal granted him leave to appeal. And he appealed, the appeal was heard. At the point of delivering judgment, the Court of Appeal was inundated with petitions. They decided to stay action and adjourn Senate. But as yesterday, the Supreme Court has ordered the Court of Appeal to deliver its judgment. Now, right now, it cannot be said that Jegede has won until the judgment is delivered. And even when the judgment is delivered, we know that the other party may go on appeal and ask for stay of execution. So right now, Jimoh Ibrahim is a PDP candidate, as accepted by INEC.
All right, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Tawu Ejatawu, thanks for your opening remarks. Again, let's throw the ball to the court of Mr. Festus Okoye in Umuahia. Mr. Okoye, again, you've, of course, you heard of the rulings. We tagged this, or people have tagged this as a battle of the weeks. A lot of people have hailed the ruling of the Supreme Court. What, in your opinion, do you think, how do you receive the rulings yesterday?
Well, if you ask me, I really believe that the root cause of all these things is the fact that constitutionally, as of today, we do not have timelines for the disposal of all pre-election matters. If we had timeline for the disposal of all pre-election matters, all these issues that are pending in the Court of Appeal, the ones that are pending in the Supreme Court, and so on and so forth, would have been determined before this period. And the people of Ondo State who have known, as of today, who is the governorship candidate of the PDP. But having said that, I think that what is important is that every political party contesting elections in Nigeria must find ways and means of putting its house in order. As of today, what we have is a situation where some of the political parties expect the judiciary to intervene and resolve their own internal party nomination disputes and also internal party leadership crisis. And I think that that is really not the proper function of a court of law. The political parties are entities on their own. And being entities of their own, they ought to have internal mechanisms of resolving their internal party disputes without allowing some of these things to get to court. So I think that the challenge we have as of today is that the Independent National Electoral Commission really does not have a choice than to obey the rule of law and due process. And obeying the rule of law and due process means that even if it monitored the party nomination processes that brought Eyitayo Jegede, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, to power as the duly nominated candidate of the PDP, and then he gets a court order saying that Eyitayo Jegede is not the proper candidate of the PDP, the Independent National Electoral Commission is under a constitutional duty, is under a legal duty to also to obey that particular judgment or order of a court of law. So I think that the main issue here is that the political parties must find ways and means of putting their house in order, and also we must amend the constitution to provide timelines for the disposal of all pre-election disputes, so that before, at least 30 days before elections, the people of Ondo State and the people and the people in the various states of the federation, we know with certainty who the candidates of the political parties are, so that we do not have this type of confusion where the people are assuming that election may be postponed, election will go on. This type of uncertainty is not good for a democratic process, and it's also not good for our electoral process.
All right, Mr. Festus Okoye, thank you very much. Again, we'll come back to you in the course of this conversation. But I would like, the learned senior advocate here to also speak to this issue. What we are seeing in Ondo State with regard to who the proper candidate is for the PDP, does this, in a sense, amount to a storm in a teacup? We have two teacups right in front of us here. Is it a storm in a teacup against the background that there's judicial authority indicating that votes cast at an election are cast for the party? And we have seen how that has played out in a number of cases. So, assuming there is uncertainty that lingers up until Saturday when the votes are cast, is it material that although people are not sure whether it's Jegede or Jimoh Ibrahim as you assert? In other words, how do you reconcile the fact that it is the party that is the recipient of the votes, the candidate is an agent of the party? And in this case, they are squabbling over who that proper agent is.
Well, as at now, the position of the law is that it is the party that amasses the votes, not the candidate, not the individual. So if after Saturday, after the election, and PDP wins, then whoever the court decides or determines as the candidate of the party becomes the governor of the state. That is the position of the law. because it's a party that sponsors the candidate, it's a party that campaigns, it's a party that goes for the votes. There is no independent candidacy. So it is a party that is the most important in this situation.
So is it still been a tick-off?
Yes, it is. It is.
Not
because
not in the mug yet.
No, not in the mug. If PDP is a serious party, it's for them to campaign and see that they win. And whoever is determined as a candidate by the court takes over as governor, representing the PDP.
All right, let's quickly bring in our guest in Ibadan Network Center, Mr. Jide Ojo. Of course, he's joining us. He's public affairs analyst. Mr. Jide Ojo, let me quickly take you on before we begin to look at the core of, the electoral process in our Korea. How might the Supreme Court's ruling impact on the election as well as the outcome of the election?
Thank you very much, Madam, for that question. For me, it's just it's going to undermine the chances of PDP to win the next Saturday election. Like my senior colleague Enumaya said, quite unfortunately, we have allowed the judiciary to have a more prominent role than it should ordinarily have in determining who the candidate of a party is. I said that much in my column in The Punch, which is available online today. Ordinarily, we shouldn't be having democracy by court order. And that is what it seems we have slipped into. Because now, in as much as political parties cannot get their acts together, cannot use internal mechanism to resolve disputes and conflicts between and amongst itself, they have allowed the judiciary to have a last say about most of their activities, which ordinarily should not be, because they are independent institutions of their own. And bringing in judiciary, and that's why you see, even with the issue of allegations and counter-allegations about the corruption in judiciary, it is the politicians that had tried to, because of this do-or-die attitude of the politician, they have tried to rule the judiciary in order to get favorable judgment, knowing full well that judiciary has the last say about an electoral process, which ordinarily should not be. Because if you recall, in the 60s up to 70s, first, second, aborted third republic, you know, from aborted third republic, we start having judicial intervention. I recall the all manner of judicial pronouncement that led to the annulment of 1993 June 12 presidential elections. And from that period up to today, we have allowed judicial intervention, undue judicial intervention into our political process. And it's doing a lot of harm than good, because these gentlemen of the bench, now, many of them who we never get to hear or know, hitherto, are dragged into public domain by all manner of allegations and counter-allegations against them, particularly when they sit on election petitions. Many of us don't get to know who a judge or justice is, even up to retirement, except those who have cases before them. But for those who are handling election petitions, you will recall that many of them are always in public domain because of all manner of allegations that are raked up by politicians about whether they have been compromised. Whichever judgment they give, there are allegations of maybe money has changed hands. That's why somebody, you could see how many times Justice Okonabang has been dragged before NJC to clear his names about some of the pronouncements and judgments he has given. So by and large, what I think the chances, what I think the Supreme Court pronouncement of yesterday has done, particularly to the PDP, is that it has further dimmed its chances of winning next Saturday's poll. But on the side of INEC, it has also raised a level of uncertainty, because I know politicians for who they are. Up until Friday, you will not be surprised to see that many of them will be shopping for judgment, court judgment to stop the election. Now there have been several protests all around Akure and some other major towns in Ondo State. There have been visits to the president for intervention in the matter, which is purely intra-party affair. Now, what they have not been able to do is to get a court pronouncement to stop the election. And knowing full well that as at yesterday, when INEC had the stakeholders forum, INEC has said that it's pressing ahead to have this election on Saturday. I will not be surprised if between now and Friday, somebody somewhere fished out or gets or procure a court judgment to say, INEC, you cannot go ahead with this election. And that would be very, very counterproductive to our democracy, because a lot of resources has been spent. A lot of money has been spent on campaigns. A lot of civil society organizations that are deploying observers have spent so much resources mobilizing. In fact, I'm not sure you can get any hotel accommodation in Ondo State today, particularly Akure, because everywhere is taken up by different stakeholders who are part of the process. You could see that police are deploying over 26,000 personnel to observe the election. Many of them will be arriving in Akure today or tomorrow. So if the election is now stalled by judicial pronouncement, it then means that the cost of running that election has further been heightened, and we are in recession. We do not have all the resources in the world to continue to have elections shifted. We had the September 10 election in Edo State postponed for like 18 days before it was eventually held on September 28. If we have this election postponed now by virtue of judicial pronouncement, that will also be like INEC is not even ready for election, which many people don't realize that it's not in the control of INEC. Because if INEC says it's ready and other stakeholders say that they are not ready, and some of the political parties, I think 17 of them are aligning with PDP to say that the election should be postponed. So if they eventually succeeded in getting court pronouncement, that means that all the preparations, all the efforts of INEC has to be stalled until when that pronouncement is laid. But that is being hypothetical. The major person, the major actor that will lose in all of this uncertainty is the PDP itself. The second is INEC because of the cost. The third will be the democracy itself, because with all manner of uncertainties, despite all the voter education effort of INEC, a lot of people may not turn out for the election on Saturday, even if it's going to hold. So these are some of the costs we may have to bear, both financial and social costs that can come into the kind of uncertainty that we have. And I'm very much in.
Well, sorry, Mr. Jide Ojo was speaking to us from our Ibadan Network Center. Thanks a lot. You've raised a number of issues. We're able just now about bringing in the police deputy force public relations officer, as well as the INEC resident electoral commissioner. You've seen him on the screen. He's wearing a suit. He's at our Akura studios. But let's just dispense with this, with the legal issue first, so that we can then get on with the logistics and other matters that are likely to arise in the conduct of the election. That's why we're going back now to Festus Okoye at Umuahia via Skype. Festus Okoye, the issue has been raised about judicial intervention in democratic politics. Again, I ask the question, is this a storm in a teacup? Is it a matter that we should be concerned about? The elections are just about a few hours, as it were, away, 3 or 4 days away. Well, Francis Okoye, I wanted you to respond to the points that have been articulated about whether or not the judicial intervention in democratic politics is a mere storm in a teacup. In other words, I mean, if parties ultimately are the beneficiaries of the votes, why should we be concerned that we're having an ongoing legal tussle over who is the proper candidate for one of the political parties?
Well, you know, as a matter of fact, that the courts do not activate themselves. The courts can only be activated through the process of political parties, or through the process of candidates, or by individuals approaching the court to seek one relief or the other. So, in other words, the courts will not intervene in any matter unless somebody or a political party approaches it for purposes of intervention. That is one. Secondly, I think that the courts have made it very, very clear a long time ago that it is not right, it is not proper, and it is not legal for it to intervene in the nomination processes of political parties, and has urged political parties in the main to see ways and means of resolving their own internal party disputes so that the courts will be left alone to deal with some other challenges. And I say this because when a political party is about to choose a candidate, there are so many variables that are taken into consideration. Sometimes they take into consideration the issue of power sharing within a particular state. Secondly, there's a possibility that they may take into consideration the ethnic and religious configuration of a particular state. They may also take into consideration the financial muscle of some of the candidates that they want to present for elections. And these are not issues that are resolvable. These are not issues that the courts can intervene in and say, oh, you must choose your candidate from this particular place, or you must choose your candidate from this particular place. So in the main, the courts have consistently asked political parties to find ways of resolving their internal disputes. The second issue is that I think that we will be setting a dangerous precedent if we postpone elections on the basis of the fact that a political party has internal disputes relating to its nomination processes. Of course, I really understand the frustrations of the PDP in relation to this particular matter. And you can see that the two factions really do not know how to approach this particular matter. It is the PDP as a political party that will be on the ballot. So, if you ask me, the best thing that the PDP can do in this present circumstance is to still go ahead, the two factions, to still go ahead and campaign for whoever is on the ballot. What is in the ballot? The party that is in the ballot is the PDP. If tomorrow the Court of Appeal gives decision that it is a senior advocate of Nigeria that is the candidate of the Presidential Electoral Commission, must obey, whether election has been conducted or whether election has not been conducted. If, on the other hand, it is Jimo Ibrahim that is the proper candidate of the PDP that is on the ballot, that the courts have affirmed, he will remain on the ballot, and if they win, he becomes the next governor of Ondo State. So the issue is that the two factions of the PDP should, in their own best interest, go ahead and campaign for their political party so that this election can go on. We cannot lay this type of precedent. If we attempt to postpone these elections on the basis of the internal political party dynamics of a political party, we will be laying a dangerous precedent that we cannot recover from. So I think that this election should go on, and the courts should, as quickly as possible, intervene and resolve these particular matters expeditiously, so that there will be certainty in this election, and so that the people of Ondo State will go to the polls in a very conducive atmosphere, devoid of violence, devoid of thuggery, and devoid of malpractices, and elect whoever they believe will best serve their interests.
Festus Okoye, thank you very much. Speaking to us from Umar here via Skype. We'll return to you presently. Let's go to Akure, where we have the INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner, Mr. Olusegun Agbaje. Mr. Olusegun Agbaje, with the hindsight, Ondo has a very, very volatile political history, and I don't know what we are seeing now. From what we're seeing, do you think that, like Mr. Okoye said, it's the atmosphere conducive such that elections can go on Saturday?
Thank you very much. Ondo State is relatively very peaceful now, and like what we have been saying and what we have seen in ICES. ICES is Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security put in place by INEC and security agencies. We have met severally, and we have seen the various dynamics in the state. We also assess the level of threat, and to us in ICES, in INEC, we believe that we don't have problem. We have also in our various stakeholders program indicated that Ondo State has had this very big share of violence in Nigeria. if you have to share electoral violence in Nigeria, what happened here in 1983, about 3 years ago, I don't think Ondo State will even pray for any of his enemies, if it has enemy states in Nigeria, to have or witness such a situation, not to talk of us witnessing it again. The use that we saw about a couple of days and yesterday coming to our premises to protest from Ondo town, and from some of them, from a few of them from Akure here, some of them I know as student leaders and others as youth leaders. I believe that what we have told them is that this case is beyond INEC. INEC has, if they have any case at all, if they have to demonstrate at all, it should be at the Supreme and Appeal Courts in Abuja and not at INEC premises. As far as we are concerned, the election will go on. We don't have control over the courts. We do pray that nothing should stop us, because INEC has done all that is needful. 100% of our non-sensitive materials have been received and have been deployed to all the states. All the training programs for our staff and other staff have been concluded, and as we speak, our sensitive materials are already at the vault of the Central Bank of Nigeria in Akure here, and we believe tomorrow morning we are receiving these, and they are being deployed to local government areas immediately tomorrow afternoon. So as far as we are concerned, we are set. The situation here in terms of security is quite conducive, and with the security apparatus that we also have here, we are sure they can deal decisively, because we have asked for the same template to use in Edo State, and they have assured us. And with the IG coming here yesterday and the INEC Honorable Chairman speaking to the audience, we believe that the state is very much set for this election.
All right, Mr. Olusegun Agbaje, thank you very much. But just one other question before we bring in the Deputy Force Public Relations Officer. What is the state of readiness of your card readers?
Our card readers have been configured. The configuration finished yesterday, and we have the chairman also approved additional 250 smart card readers from neighboring states to us here. So I believe that even Ondo State is the luckiest of all the states that have been doing election since the beginning of this year. We have in those smart card readers, they have been serviced, they have been configured to the various polling units, and by Thursday, the electoral officers will take them all to their various local government areas for sharing to our ad hoc staff on Friday before going to the racks.
All right, Mr. Olusegun Agbaje, thank you very much. Well, of course, just before you leave us, we'll get back to you. But let's come back to Abuja here, where we have, of course, the Deputy Force Public Relations Officer, Mr. Jimo, or CSP Jimo Moshood. You've listened to Mr. Agbaje. Of course, he said the situation, there's a conducive atmosphere for election to go on in Ondo State. But from history, we know how volatile Ondo is. What feelings are you getting in terms of security situation?
Thank you so much. We take into cognizance the prevailing situation in Ondo State previously before the election and the past history of the people of the state. We know the Ondo State are good people and they are peace-loving people, but we shouldn't allow anything to chance, and that's why our preparation was in phases: pre-election period, the election proper itself, and the post-election, because there's no doubt that most of the crises we do have during election are not during the casting of votes. It's immediately results are going out, and people who are losing, or probably those who are winning, there's going to be full jubilations, and people take advantage of these situations and cause mayhem. And the IGP Ibrahim K. Idris, MPMNI, was in Ondo State yesterday to give finishes to the operation architectures for the election. Mind you, we prepare, because the period of pre-election, a period of nomination campaigns, and we have it good up to now. INEC REC has confirmed, the atmosphere in Ondo is very, very peaceful because of the deployment that we have carried out. The IGP have detailed 26,000 conventional policemen, and outside this we have 2,000 mobile policemen, because 26 units of the mobile force are going to be deployed, and we are going to deploy more than 10 cells of the counter-terrorism squad. And part of deployment is the 12 armor personnel carrier that are going to be position, especially in the trouble spot. 3 police helicopters are going to be used for surveillance patrol. Then the gunboats are going to be 20. They are going to work hand in hand with the Nigerian Navy. And like he said, the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security have been working because previously election in Nigeria, you have orders coming from above going down. Now the state, where because peculiarity of state differs, so states are made to make input. It is their input that will now work on and give directive. So as it is now, the people of Ondo State, especially the electorate, should be assured of maximum security during the election. Outside that, during the stakeholders forum yesterday, they were made to sign a peace accord, which is very, very important to us. All the parties, 28 parties that are into the election were represented and they all signed. Some of their contestants were in and out. The IG signed a note of warning to parents and guardians, political leaders, opinion leaders, and religious groups to prevail on their adherents, children and ward, not to be used to cause mayhem anywhere, because we are going to arrest you and we are going to prosecute you. You go beyond arresting only the talks of people that are causing problem. You go to arresting the sponsor and bringing that to justice. So like he has rightly pointed out, we are good to go. We are good to go. We have covered all the trouble spots, and we are still taking in the concerns of flashpoints and area where trouble can come out during the election.
Just to continue, because of all the intra-party wranglings that we've heard and seen, one good thing is that we've not heard of a report of any loss of life. Is there, and this is, if I may say, this is really, really historic, it's unprecedented. So is there anything that has been done right?
Yes, we are getting it more right. Like for example, the experience of Edo, we deployed 25,000 conventional in addition to other joint units, like I've mentioned. And we brought, the intelligence are better gathered by the locals. Our intelligence are working with the locals to get intelligence of area of crisis. And once we are out as a police institution with the other security agency working with us on time, it is difficult for you to come out to make any trouble. We have done early deployment. Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of Operation DIG, Abuja, have relocated to Ondo State more than a week now, and he has been seen to the development. Then the IG graciously brought in all the Commissioner of Police of the contiguous state to Ondo. The CP Ogun was there, the CP Edo was there, the CP Kogi was there, CP Ekiti was there, CP Osun were there. All of them were there yesterday to ensure that, like people always say, why massive deployment? We have to do massive deployment because this is the only state, as at now the election is going on. The politicians, those who want to cause problems, will recruit thugs, will recruit people from the neighboring state or from wherever they can muster people that will cause problems. So, and that is why you can't get anybody out of Kogi State now to come to Ogun State to come and cause any mayhem. And there's going to be restriction of movement from 12 midnight on Friday. Beyond the reason, then we used to say 6 p.m., but we know coalitions and cantons still go beyond that period to around 8 p.m. And only those who go for essential services, and including police personnel are going to wear tag, including other security agencies, including the military. So the policemen and the soldiers to be deployed and other security agencies are restricted to area where they are deployed. If you cross to other area, you are going to be arrested because you have to play your role where you are deployed. So that's to tell you that you cannot recruit anybody. And the specific amount of money that's supposed to have on duty, the allowances for the police personnel and other security agencies have been approved, and the account number have been directed to giving the account number. So your money goes into your account. So you have a limited money. So you tell us where you get the money from. And for politicians, we know that they should stay clear. If you want to, because you have a situation whereby somebody will go around with a bag of money and you show him where you are, the person you have casted your vote for, and you are giving money. No, that's in the past. So we have done a lot because we prepare, like I said earlier on, for pre-election period, and that's why for now there's no any loss of life or any major incident.
So there's a point I would like you to clarify in terms of the restriction on movement. It's Saturday that the election is taking place, and Ondo has a number of arterial highways. You have the Shagamu Expressway, or Shagamu is in Ogun State, for instance. There is no election in Ogun State. You have the Benin Expressway. Will there also be a lockdown on those major interstate highways?
Yeah, thank you so much. The police in Ondo State have given out this one even before now. people that may want to pass through Ondo State during this period should use alternate route or alternate highway, because you imagine that Ondo State, it's like Edo State, for example, is contiguous. Ogun State, you can access Ondo State. From Edo State, you can access Ondo State. From Ekiti, you can do the same from Osun. So people should know that from 12 midnight on Friday, there won't be any either vehiculars or human movement. Even during the period of the election, you only move within the area where you have registered to go and vote and go back to your house. So we are looking at, and that is why the Commissioner of Police in all the other states were present there yesterday when the IGP was briefing the police personnel, because it is important to increase their morale and to let them know what is actually expected of them. We don't want a situation whereby policemen or other security agents will be deployed and they won't know what to know at the appropriate time. And there's going to be 5 policemen assisted by other security agents at each of the polling booths. You know, there are 3,009 polling booths in the state, and we have 18 local government. So there's going to be, those who are going to be at the polling booth are not going to be a firearm to ensure that there's orderliness and there's protection. But there's going to be intervention squad or mounted vehicles, and that is why the IGP has deployed 300 patrol vehicles to be used for this purpose, and this is in addition to what the state has on ground. So with this, we are good to go, and we are going to ensure that the election is peaceful.
All right, CSP Jimo Moshood. I was going to say, not Jimo Ibrahim, Jimo Moshood. The Deputy Force Public Relations Officer. Thank you very much. We'll come back to you in the course of the conversation. Just to indicate that we have been joined now by another guest at our Lagos Network Studios. Claire indicated that we're going to have a guest. You can see her on the right side of your split screen. Dr. Abiola Akiode Afolabi. She's chairperson with Transition Monitoring Group. Dr. Akiode Afolabi, a pleasure to have you on the program, and take this question along with your response to our welcome. Namely, what's your preview of the Ondo governorship election?
Well, thank you very much. It's actually a pleasure to be here, and I've actually been listening in and hearing what others have been saying on this issue. I think that the Ondo election actually raises a lot of issues, and I'm going to identify about 1, 2, or 3 of them. The first one being the fact that it shows to a large extent the role of political parties in our electoral system. As we speak today, people are apprehensive of what is likely going to happen in Ondo State, for the fact that the political party has actually brought us to where we are. The issue of internal party democracy and a whole lot of other issues that have led them to court and a whole lot of things like that. So if we look at that, we would understand that there's a need for us to redefine the role that political parties play in our electoral system. You would have expected that by now we should be talking about issues that issue-based politicking, but unfortunately we are all interested in knowing what happens in the court and all that. And what you then see with that is that the political parties bringing election issues outside of the voters, but to the court system. And I think that a lot of my colleagues that have spoken had actually emphasized this. The other issue which I also want to raise is the fact that what the conduct of the political parties have done is also to make other institutions very, very vulnerable. Talking about this Ondo election, there has been a lot of discussion about even the credibility of the judiciary. There has also been allegation against the INEC, to the extent that as at yesterday, when the INEC chair was addressing the public, he was talking about the fact that INEC is not in any way in compromise, or they don't belong to any political party and they are not supporting any political party, which shows that how vulnerable the political parties have made INEC. Now, also talking about the voters, which is the third level. Now, we had opportunity of meeting with the voters and meeting with citizens in the state, and you can see that the whole place is heated up. They are also very vulnerable to violence and a whole lot of other things. And to a large extent, what this is also saying generally is that there's a need for us to where we think that are hotspot areas where we need to let Nigerians know that this is about their life. It is important for them to go out and vote vote without any form of violence. We have had cause to visit even political parties to talk to them about their role in ensuring that the election is free and it's fair. By and large, we also want to also talk about our concern about the political economy. If the election does not hold on Saturday, what does this portend? If you hear what the plan that the security agencies already have, there's a lot of funds that have gone into that. The plans that INEC already have, they already have all their sensitive material, insensitive material. They're expecting to have their sensitive materials by tomorrow, from the CBN. So if we put all this together in the period of recession, I think the political party should allow the election to be.
Right.
All right, that's Dr. Abiola Akyode Afolabi, chairperson of the Transition Monitoring Group. Thank you very much. We'll come back to you, of course, in the course of the conversation. Just to indicate that we have a number of reactions already from our viewers who have taken advantage of our Twitter handle at NTA GMA. They've sent in their tweets, and we're taking some of those tweets right now. After we go over to the REC in Akure. Claire.
Okay, let's start off with this one says, citizens counts, and the tweets, the party amasses the vote as the candidate would have been independent candidate. There's also a second one coming from him. Our elites shouldn't rubbish the electoral process for youth who are looking up to having maturity in governance.
And then we have this tweet from Shadi Caleb. It says, I'm of the view that the National Assembly should make a law that will prohibit any party that has more than one candidate to election day.
And Mike Anyako tweets, elections are not won in courts. Politicians should go and canvass for votes. Wuru-wuru in politics is not good for our democracy.
And Otega has this, so let the electoral process be transparent, and so Nigerians should have confidence in INEC again. So those are the tweets that we're taking in the meantime. Confidence in INEC, once again, that we're going back now to Akure. Mr. Olusegun Agbaje, INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner in Ondo. Just about a couple of months ago, on the 28th of September, we had the Edo governorship election. And one of the encounters, of course, we saw the reports in the media, the open inducement of voters. They were sharing money. If that were to happen in Ondo, what would be the attitude of INEC?
Well, at our stakeholders meeting yesterday, we did explain to them what this means, and that it portrays a lot of danger to our democracy. People will take the ballot paper, will go into the cubicle, will cast their ballot, come out and open their ballot paper, which is again against the secrecy of voting. It's an electoral offense. And we have agreed, because somebody is somewhere carrying money and looking at that particular paper he's holding to see where he has placed his fingerprints. That one is wrong. We told them yesterday, based on what we had before that has happened in other parts, and we have, even in ISES before this time we have discussed. And we also knew that in April this year, some people were arrested by the police when we had crisis in an election in Kano State. And on the 1st of June this year, the 42 of them were sentenced to 1 year imprisonment each. And we have used this as a signal point that the police, if police in Kano could do it, we are very sure that the police and security agencies in Ondo State can also do it to effect arrest for such people and prosecute them. So we are waiting to ensure that nobody, through any other foul means, disturbs or distorts the process of this election.
All right, Mr. Olusegun Agbaje, INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner, Ondo State, would like to thank you very much for finding time to be with us on this morning's program. We wish you a pleasant day.
Thank you. Great to thank you.
All right, again, let's now get back to, of course, okay, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue with our conversation.
Flash. I have gone. Yeah, sign to a check. I don't carry on gone. I shoot him for flash. How like this? Flash, I don't die.
That's him. Hey, if you move, I shoot.
That man at the smoke and something. But
small. You know, say flying will be.
This week on your award-winning comedy series, Professor John Bull, starring Kanayo Okanayo, Funky Malam, Bimbo Akintola, Ime Bishop, Junior Pope, Stephen Odingbe.
If somebody are holding on gun for inside the people, What can the Canadian do? No, but to shoot the people.
Until Tuesday.
Jumbo baby with a big.
Conformer. You see him for your eye wearing shoot flash. Yes, sir.
Professor John Bull, fasten your seatbelts this Tuesday and Friday, 8:30 to 9 p.m. on NTA Network, International, and Star Times.
Touch it. I beg you in the name of God.
Over and out. Welcome to the new speed of life.
People think it's the ever-changing weather during Harmattan that makes them sick. Actually, it's the germs. Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs, including flu.
Does your antiseptic liquid kill the germs that cause flu, diarrhea, typhoid? Dettol does. Dettol provides 10 times more protection versus leading competition. So why take a risk with your loved ones?
The Advertising Practitioners Association Abuja Chapter APAC, in partnership with the Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria APCON, invites advertising practitioners, heads of media and public affairs of MDAs and corporate organizations, advertisers, members of the media, and other relevant stakeholders to the 2016 APAC Advertising Week. Special activities to mark the week are Advertising Stakeholders Forum, theme, Ethical Advertising Practice, Getting It Right. Date, Wednesday, 23rd November 2016 by 10 a.m. prompt. Annual lecture and dinner. Date, Thursday, 24th November 2016 by 5 p.m. Venue, Horton Suite, beside Old Sahad Stores, Geruke, Abuja. Special guest of honor, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, Honorable Minister of Information and Culture. Chief host, Alhaji Garba Bello Kankarofi, APCON Registrar. Guest speaker, Mr. Kayode Oluwai Shona, President, Association of Advertising Agencies of Nigeria. APAC, want to sell it, advertising.
All right, welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the NTA. Now, let's get back to Umar here, where Mr. Festus Okoye. Mr. Festus Okoye, I'm thinking aloud, and I would like you to help me out with this question. I know that there was a court, order in the first place, but I'm wondering if a particular candidate in the Ondo, election was recognized from a faction of the PDP. Why is the same candidate from the same recognized faction not allowed to succeed?
Well, I understand the issue you are putting on the table. Now, I think that there's a slight difference between what is going on in Ondo State as of today and what is going on in and what we had in Edo State. I agree with you that the Independent National Electoral Commission monitored the party primary elections that produced the Lene Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Eyitayo Jegede, and he was properly nominated and properly presented to the Independent National Electoral Commission as the candidate of the People's Democratic Party. And INEC does not make any fuss about that. INEC agrees that that is the candidate they accepted. And they are very, very clear about it. Now, the challenge here is that whether a court of law is right or whether a court of law is wrong, its judgments and its orders must be obeyed until set aside by a superior court of law. A court of law had made an order, a pronouncement, that the name of Eyitayo Jegede, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, should be removed from the ballot and replaced with that of Jimo Ibrahim. And that is exactly the order which the Independent National Electoral Commission obeyed. And if you look at the release that the Independent National Electoral Commission issued when it announced the final list of candidates, there was a column saying by court order. What that means is that the Independent National Electoral Commission is saying, we monitor the elections that produced Eyitayo Jegede as the candidate of the PDP. We did not monitor the party primaries that produced Jimo Ibrahim as the candidate of the other faction of the PDP. But since we have a valid court order, we have no choice, we have no discretion other than to obey that particular court order. Anytime there's a contrary order, anytime a superior court of record gives us a contrary directive or makes a contrary decision, we are ready to obey. I think that we must congratulate the judiciary as of today we must recognize the speed at which the Supreme Court had all the multiplicity of applications that were filed before it and ordered the Court of Appeal to proceed and deliver or continue with the hearing in relation to the pending judgments and so on. You must also recognize the fact that it is the politicians, it is the political parties that have been arresting judgments, that have been stalling the clear resolution of this particular matter. So if the politicians cooperate with the judiciary, if the politicians do not adopt all sorts of subterfuge in relation to the Ondo elections, we will have had a resolution of these issues by today. So I think that the Court of Appeal should, in the interest of the people of Ondo State, in the interest of our judiciary, in the interest of the people of this country, in the interest of our electoral process, go ahead and deliver his judgment so that there will be some level of certainty relating to what is going to happen during the governorship elections in Ondo State this Saturday. So I think that there is no confusion, there is no maneuver in relation to this particular matter. What is at play and what is on the table, and the true path is that the Independent National Electoral Commission obeyed a valid court order, and we cannot hold it against them.
All right. Mr. Festus Okoye, lawyer joining us via Skype from Umuahia. Always a delight having you on Good Morning Nigeria. Thank you once again for your insights.
Thank you.
Okay, let's return to our Ibadan Network Center where we still have Mr. Jide Ojo. Mr. Jide Ojo, we had you a while ago and you were talking, you gave your thoughts with regard to the forthcoming election. But let me ask you, do you have any acute concerns about the election in light of what has been discussed, in light of also what is unfolding in the state?
Of course, there are very, very grave concerns I have. Like I alluded to earlier on, I've raised some of these concerns in my column in the Punch today. One of the very grave concerns I have is, historically, we know that Ondo State is very volatile. And the way and manner in which some citizens are being mobilized to embark on protests, I think it's cause for concern. Why do you have to march on INEC premises when INEC wasn't the one that says that election, that substituted the candidate? Because INEC did it on the instruction, very clear instruction from the court. And we have said earlier on that bringing judiciary into our electoral process has been very unwholesome. Because these are independent institutions and ordinarily should have activated internal mechanisms to resolve their conflict. But in as far as we are gradually slipping into having democracy by court order, that again raises another level of concern. Because democracy by its very nature, there are independent institutions that ordinarily should take care of different activities along the democratic process. INEC has been very professional in the way they have dealt with the issue. I really do not see even the visits by the governor of Ondo State to the president. I really do not think that is the appropriate thing to do. Yes, we do understand that the president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, but there are no serious breach of security in Ondo State to warrant those visits twice to the president. Because the president belongs to a different political party. Now you're having an intra-party conflict. You are saying that the president should come and intervene. If president intervenes, already, without even his intervention, there are allusions to the fact that APC is using a fraction of PDP to scuttle his own chances of winning the Ondo election. So if the Mr. President gives a clear directive one way or the other, will it not be misinterpreted as being an interference in the domestic affairs of a state or domestic affair of a political party? So that is another level of concern. Thirdly is the issue of vote buying. You will recall that even in one of the primaries where there are issues, there are allegations of vote buying of delegates, and which is why there is very odd dispute that has even led to the exit of one of the aspirants into another political party. This, if it could happen at the level of party primary, then we could as well envisage that there will be a lot of that during the electioneering itself. And vote buying is a criminal offense. Section 124 of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended clearly says bribery and conspiracy is a criminal offense. And there are penalties spelled out in the law. And I'm very glad that the Deputy First Public Relations Officer is there. They do not need to wait on INEC to give a directive for them to apprehend anybody that is distributing or sharing money on election day. It is very clear. Let them read Section 124 of the Electoral Act. It says that there should be no bribery, no even the issue of giving people food, bread, detergents, or what we have come to classify as stomach infrastructure. Stomach infrastructure in the electoral process is a criminal offense, and it should not be tolerated. INEC, alongside, the REC in Ondo has said that they have been able to activate ICES, Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. There should be a clear instruction that anybody seen within the vicinity of the polling unit sharing money to electorates should be apprehended and prosecuted, because the law is very clear on it that it's a criminal offense and it's not welcome in our police. Because when you give people 2,000, 5,000, where do you intend to recoup that money? At the end of the day, if you win, it is from the state resources that you are going to recoup that you are going to pay yourself back, and that will be money that ordinarily should have been used to fix the bad roads, to fix the hospitals that are comatose, to fix the schools that are dilapidated. So all of this raises a lot of concern. So electoral violence, vote buying, the issue of judicial intervention in our electoral process are something of grave concerns to me.
All right, Jide Ojo, Public Affairs Analyst, joining us from our Ibadan Network Center. We'll appreciate your contributions to our program. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right, Kingsley, let's return. Just before you take on the...
but just to follow up on some of the points articulated by Jide Ojo, and the question is going to CSP Juma Moshood. What will be the clear expectation of voters and others? Would they be allowed to fry akara and puff and distribute these things? Would they be seen as part of inducement? I'm asking this question because ahead of the Edo election, when we asked whether those things would be considered as electoral offenses, the cheeky response was that it's better for people to be happy than for there to be violence. But of course, there was a scale-up of the inducement that we saw. There were chairmen who were sharing, brand new notes, something 1,000, you show your ballot. So what is going to be the rule of conduct on election day?
Thank you so much. I will start with nothing is an offense except what is stated in the law to be an offense, and such equally stating an offense will state the punishment for such an offense. The policemen deployed this the election duties have been brief on what is expected of them. I want Mr. Jidodo to know that even outside those things he has mentioned, anybody within the vicinity of the election committing act will be properly arrested, and this time around prosecuted. The prosecution team is led by the Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of criminal investigation and intelligence department, and they are all waiting. The investigative team are equally there at each senatorial district. I want you to know that all those acts that are prescribed in the Electoral Act to be an electoral offense, we are going to enforce them to the letter. So people should be warned, and especially political party should warn their followers not to indulge all this mention, because they are going to apprehend them and prosecute them. The IGP Brian K. Idris yesterday sent a note of warning at the venue of the stakeholder meetings that you don't induce people coming to vote. You don't go somewhere and start sharing money. Anything that can, even conduct that can cause breach of the peace is equally an offense. Somebody, your representative is there, once you cast your vote, you go. Then the people that are there can monitor what is happening. But if you choose to wait, you wait within a distance that reasonably will not cause problem for the electoral process. Apart from the polling, you will have 3,009 polling units. Then you have wards which are scattered all all over, then 18 local governments. So we are going to provide enough security within, and even in the process of collating the election, there are specific number of policemen that we meant. So to answer your question right away, anybody that have committed an offense within the Electoral Act or any other offense, not only in the Electoral Act, will be apprehended and prosecuted. And like we have it good because we have deployed enough. Because we presently policemen deployed on these duties are conducting stop and search around Ondo State, because we don't want we don't allow weapons to come in, and when weapons come in, it becomes a problem. So anybody searched and anybody found will be prosecuted appropriately.
Let's say it in black and white. Will those people selling akara puff be allowed?
No, you cannot be within the polling area. Okay. If you are going to sell akara pop, you sell it in your premises, maybe your shop or wherever you are doing it, but you can't. If you want to take refreshment, you go outside the polling area and go and take refreshment. Okay. Because you agree with me, even a bottle of soft drink can be used by somebody to cause confusion and injure another person. So even pure water chassis can equally become a weapon. So anything that people can fashion into a weapon and attack another person within the polling unit or even outside the polling unit are not allowed, and we'll enforce it to the letter.
Thank you, CSP Moshood. Now let's get back to our, of course, learned senior advocate. We've seen court rulings, court orders, of course, throwing up candidates and all that. To what extent do you think they have helped to deepen our democracy?
Well, first of all, on the issue of judicial intervention, vis-a-vis the call for postponement of the election, the Electoral Act has made it clear that no court can stop the conduct of an election. So whether there is a court order to stop an election or not, the election ought to go on and should go on by virtue of the provisions of the Electoral Act. Furthermore, the postponement, there is a provision in the Electoral Act stating the circumstances under which an election can be postponed, not the internal crisis of a political party. For instance, where there is reasonable belief or likelihood that there will be a breach of peace on that day of the election should be postponed. And who determines whether there will be breach is the security agencies. And the security agencies says they are ready. Or where there is a natural disaster. For now, there is no natural disaster in Ondo State. Or there is an emergency. Definitely, internal crisis of a political party cannot be an emergency. So the election has to go on. Why I had to bring up this is the other colleague from Ibadan was saying that maybe there will be people shopping for injunction or orders to stop an election. That's why I had to clarify to say that the Electoral Act says no court can stop an election. Now, to consider whether the orders, string of orders and all that, it has helped a great deal to stabilize democracy in this country. Because without these court orders, there could have been violence. These court orders have become restraining factors. You talked of Edo State. Edo State, it's because PDP did not win. If PDP had won the election in Edo, definitely the candidate from Amadu Sharif faction would have gone to court to lay claim by virtue of Justice Okonaban's judgment. That is what settled that. Otherwise, it would have come ahead.
All right, learned senior advocate Taiwo, Eja Taiwo, that's the issue of digitalization of pure politics. It's a very serious subject matter in election jurisprudence. Thank you very much. But let's quickly go back to Mrs. Akeode Afolabi, Dr. Akeode Afolabi, chairperson of the Transition Monitoring Group. Very briefly now, what would you like to see done on the basis of what you have observed, that's to say your monitoring group has observed with regard to the elections, so that things don't go wrong?
We believe that It's important for security operative to be on ground, especially because the political space is very heated up. From our monitoring in Edo State, we observed a lot of things. One of the issues have been raised, which is the issue of sharing of money and inducements around the election place. We believe that the impunity around it is also the reason why that has continued, and the fact that the security agencies said they are on ground now, so we do hope that they will take care of that. Other issues that we see on election day, like logistic and all that, in Edo State, I think INEC demonstrated that they have actually improved in terms of ensuring that things start on time and that things are done properly. So we do hope that we'll have that in Ondo State. Much more importantly is to make sure that we all try to ensure that voters come up on Saturday, because with what is happening, there's a lot of apathy. When you tell people that you are going to Ondo State, people they look at you as if you are actually going to a war zone. So we want the political party to please tone down the tempo so that they can allow the Nigerian people to go out en masse on Saturday to elect who they want to be their new leader. It is an important thing that must be done. It's an electoral accountability issue. It's an electoral justice issue. So they should allow the people to go and vote and elect the right person to govern them in the coming period.
Abiola Kiodea Falabi, of course, Chairman Transition Monitoring Group. We really do appreciate your contribution this morning. Thank you very much. My final question to CSP Jimoh Moshood. A word of caution to all parties to the Ondo governorship election on Saturday, both to the electorate, to the party supporters, and to the candidates themselves.
Thank you so much. I want to start by saying the election in Ondo State are going to be, the voting are going to be done by the Ondo people, and the people have priority in ensuring that there's safety. And up to now, they've been cooperating with us. There's been good relationship with the people to ensure that there's safety. But we want, like the IGP have directed, that political parties should play the games according to the rule. If you have intra-party issues, you know the best way to resolve it. Election will hold, we have made adequate deployment, and we're ensuring that adequate patrol, even after the election. And we are not going beyond that. We are carrying out raids of all identifiable black spots and flat spots in Medina to assure.
We have some numbers on the screen now. Could you quickly speak to those numbers? We have IGP Ibrahim K. Idris, and could you quickly speak to those numbers?
Thank you so much. The IGP Ibrahim Idris is the overall commander for the election. That's the most important, the important thing attached to the election. Then we have DIGP Abila Jushak, who is the grand commander of the election. And people can reach him on 08037025670. That's the DIG. Then equally the AIG. Paul Okafor is going to assist him. Then we have 3 commissioner police for the 3 senatorial district for the election. We have not assigned, they've been assigned the area they are to cover the senatorial district, but we've not get it across to the public so that people don't say 1 or 2 things or try to read them for other purpose except for those that they are there for. So we want people to know that the entire area of Ondo is covered, including the neighboring other contingent state to Ondo State, to ensure adequate security before, during, and after the election.
Okay, that's the Deputy First Public Relations Officer, CSP Jimoh Moshood. Thank you for being part of our discussion this morning.
Thank you, sir.
We also would like to thank Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Taiwo Eja Taiwo. Taiwo, thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, and then that does it, of course, for our discussion segment on Good Morning Nigeria. We move on now to the complementary aspects, and we're taking up sports. Nigeria Super Falcons continue their title defense at the African Women Cup of Nations currently taking place in Cameroon as they face the Black Queens of Ghana. Details of the stories we have in our sports pack.
They won for the record 9th time in Namibia in 2014. Falcons' familiar foes, Ghana, have been 3-time finalists in 1998, 2002 and 2006. They lost all to Nigeria. And Nigeria's women coach, Florence Omagbimi, had said aside will remain focused on their sole ambition to retain their title, promising to give a better display in their game against Ghana. The Confederation of African Football, CAF, has announced the top 5 shortlist for the 2016 African Player of the Year, with Kelechi Iheanacho Ahmed Musa and John Obimika not making the court. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Riyad Mahrez, Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah and Islam Slimani made the top 5 decided by vote from members of the CAF Media Committee, CAF Technical and Development Committee, and half of the 20-member panel of experts. Borussia Dortmund striker Aubameyang won the accolade for 2015 after a sizzling start to the previous season for the Bundesliga club. In the Africa Player of the Year based in Africa category, no Nigerian player made the list. The winners will be decided by votes from the head coaches and technical directors of the national associations affiliated to CAF. The Glow CAF Awards Gala Night will take place on Thursday, January 5, 2017 at the International Conference Center, Abuja, Nigeria.
All right, and that's sports news from our sports desk. Next, we'll join Yemi Ajayi for
the foreign news package. Now, let's also join Abdul Malik Adio for arts and entertainment.